In imagined excitement, he jerks off his tool, then lays back embarrassed and feels like a fool. Till with tissue he wipes sperm from belly at last. His sweet milk of life love finds home in the trash. And as the brave little cowboy waits for sleep in his bed, maddening images whirl in his head. Dreams full of fear and worries and doubt. Like wrestlers, they tussle and struggle about. Perhaps one in many from a distance remote bring peaceful and comforting visions of hope. When what to his wondering eyes do appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. But there ain't no Santa Claus on the evening stage. There ain't no cause or comfort in to hide from hunger's pain and rage. For pain and desire burn within a raging heart of hunger, of throbbing blood, and veins contracted, and eyes tensed like furied fists, and strangling bands of iron around the neck, bursting an overloaded, hot and boiling brain with agony and images numberless, unknown. Hand in hand, images and agony, flittering about, out of reach, out of comprehension. Skin aches with emptiness, becomes drier and drier. They crack in the night, the red flesh beneath the cracked, dry skin, wrinkled like a mummy, like preserved death, trickles blood, and each pulsation of blood through the tiny wound brings a tiny pulsation of pain. P.S. You're not much help either, neat guy. Well, that was the poem. Let me see, I've got to look up this other poem I'm going to read. You may slightly inwardly giggle at the title of this poem, but I do like it. And the poem is an ode to sleep by John Keats. And I can't read this too good, but some of these poems I can read pretty good. I've been practicing as to be a little neat guy on this tape. And also, the sound on this tape is horrible, but anyway. To Sleep by John Keats. O soft embalmer of the night, still midnight, shutting with careful fingers and benign our gloom-pleased eyes, embowered from the light, enshaded in forgetfulness divine. O soothe us to sleep, if so it please thee, close in mist of this thine hymn my willing eyes, or wait the amen ere thy poppy throws around my bed its lulling charities. Then save me, or the past day will shine upon my pillow, breeding many woes. Save me from curious conscience that still lords its strength for darkness, burrowing like a mole. Turn the key deftly in the oiled wards, and seal the husked casket of my soul. And now another poem by John Keats called A Song About Myself. There was a naughty boy was he. He would not stop at home. He could not quiet be. He took in his knapsack a book full of vowels, and a shirt with some towels, a slight cap for a nightcap, a hairbrush, comb ditto, new stockings for old ones would split-o. This knapsack, tied its back, he riveted close, and followed his nose to the north, and followed his nose to the north. There was a naughty boy, and a naughty boy was he, for nothing could he do but scribble poetry. He took an inkstand in his hand, and a pen big as 10 in the other, and away in a pother he ran to the mountains and fountains and ghosties and posties and witches and ditches, and wrote in his coat when the weather was cool, fear of gout, and without, when the weather was warm, awk the charm when we choose to follow one's nose to the north, to follow one's nose to the north. There was a naughty boy, and a naughty boy was he. He kept little fishes in washing tubs 3. In spite of the might of the maid, nor afraid of his granny good, he often would hurly-burly get up early and go by hook or crook to the brook, and bring home miller's thumb, tittleback, not over fat, minnows small as the stall of a glove, not above the size of knives, little babies, little fingers. Oh, he made was his trade. Of a fish, a pretty kettle. A kettle. A fish, a pretty kettle. A kettle. There was a naughty boy, and a naughty boy was he. He ran away to Scotland, the people for to see. Then he found that the ground was as hard, that a yard was as long, that a song was as merry, that a cherry was as red, that lead was as weighty, that 80 was as 80, that a door was as wooden as in England. So he stood in his shoes, and he wondered, and he wondered. He stood in his shoes, and he wondered. Here's one by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men that therein no dark is right, because their words has forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. A refusal to mourn the death by fire of a child in London. Never until the mankind making, bird, beast, and flower, fathering and all humbling darkness, tells with silence the last light breaking in the still hours, come of the sea tumbling in harness. And I must enter again the round Zion of the water bead, and the synagogue of the ear of corn, and I shall pray the shadow of a sound, or sow my salt seed in the last valley of the sackcloth to mourn. The majesty and burning of the child's death I shall not murder, the mankind of her going with a grave truth, nor blaspheme down the stations of the breath with any further elegy of innocence and youth. Deep with the first dead lies London's daughter, robbed in the long friends, the grains beyond age, the dark veins of her mother, secret by the unmourning waters of the riding fames. After the first death there is no other. Blake's London. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered fames doth flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn in
infant's tear, and blights with plagues the marriage hearse.
Okay, here's a section of a poem, a very long poem, a kind of a long poem, not very. John Davidson, a poet who committed suicide, and I hate this poem, but I love it. I mean, something within me hates it, but I like just the morbidness of it. It's a poem of sadism. And here's the very last part. Submissively, like a somnambulist who solves his problem in a dream, I found the atonement of it and became its lord of the riddle of the universe, aware at full of matter's stolid will, in me accomplished its useless aim. The wit man felt no keener ecstasy when a fair harlot at the cart's tail shrieked, and rags of flesh with blood-soaked toddy lace girdled her shuddering loins, nor hollowed awe that ever wrapped a pale inquisitor, beholding pangs of stubborn heresy a sweat upon the rack, surpassed the fierce exalted anguish of my thought. I fixed the creature impotent and moribund, with gag and fetter sheared its filthy mane, cut a foot's length tissue and tendon twixt his pole and festering withers, and hammered out 3 arches of his spine in ropey bulk, stripped to my forceps marrow matter's pit, itself a twitch, a needle's faint appeal, recalling the gilding light, supplied each stop and register of sense with vibrant power, and made this faithful dying loathsome drudge one dissipation of intense pain, sublime and terrible in martyrdom. I study pain, measure it, and invent, I and my compeers, for I hold again that every passionate materialist who rends the living subject soon is purged of vulgar tenderness, indiligent, delighted tormentry of bird and beast, and consciousness or unconscious of his aim fulfills the will of matter, cutting out a path to knowledge undefiled with use, of unstruct by matter's own resource, pain, a la cast of all its intelligence. I study pain, pain only. I broach and tap the agony of matter and work its will, detecting useless items, I and those who tortured fourscore solipedes to carve a scale of feeling on the spinal cord, quilted with nails and mangled flights of fowl. Litters and nests of vermin happily throughout a year, discerning in the end that anguish, breath, and breath of healthy ease differ by function by a jot perhaps, or Pisan doctors whom the Florentine furnished with criminals from a gentler doom, withdrawn to undergo anatomy, and masters who, before the world grew tame, enjoyed the handling in their horrid troughs of countless men and women alive and well. Have I no pain? I live alone. My wife forsook me, and my daughters, in the night from stilted fountains sprung insurgent tears, arouse me, a marauder in the past, against my will, one of the nightly gang, impressed by sleep to serve insomnia, the queen of waking dreams, caught in her snare, a man-trap memory toward the recreant hour. When life is at the ebb, I rise and think to end it now, but always stay my hand, because we cannot put an end to that. in which we live and move and have our being, nor anywhere escape it. Air is matter, the interstellar spaces matter cold, and thin the darksome vehicles of light. To the materialist there is no unknown. All is matter, pain, I am one ache. But never when I work where matter wins. And I believe that they who delve the soil, who reap the grain, who dig and smelt the ore, the girl who plucks the rose, the sweetest voice that thrills the air with sound, give matter pain. Think you the sun is happy in its flames, or that the cooling earth no anguish feels, nor quails from her contraction? Rather say, the systems, constellations, galaxies that strew the ethereal waste are whirling there in agony, unutterable pain. It may be matter in itself is pain, sweetened in sexual love, that so mankind, the medium of matter's consciousness, may never cease to know the stolid bent of matter, the infinite vanity of the universe, being evermore self-knowledge. A couple of poems by Hausman. Terence, this is stupid stuff. You eat your victuals fast enough. There can't be much amiss, 'tis clear, to see the rate you drink your beer. But oh, good Lord, the verse you make, it gives a chap the bellyache. The cow, the cold cow, she is dead. It sleeps well, the horned head. We poor lads, 'tis our turn now to hear such tunes as killed the cow. Pretty friendship 'tis to rhyme your friends to death before their time. Moping, melancholy mad. Come, pipe a tune to dance to, lad. Why, if 'tis dancing you would be, there's brisker pipes than poetry. Say, for what were hop yards meant? Or why was Bruton built on Trent? Oh, many a peer of England's brews livelier liquor than the Muse, and malt does more than Milton can to justify God's ways to man. Ale, man, ale's the stuff to drink for fellows whom it hurts to think. Look into the pewter pot and see the world as the world's not, and faith is pleasant till 'tis past. The mischief is that 'twill not last. Oh, I have been to Ludlow Fair, and left my necktie God knows where, and carried halfway home or near pints and quarts of Ludlow beer. Then the world seemed none so bad, and I myself a sterling lad, and down in lovely muck I've lain, happy till I woke again. Then I saw the morning sky, hi-ho, the tale was all a lie. The world, it was the old world yet, I was I, my things were wet, and nothing now remained to do but begin the game anew. Therefore, since the world has still much good, but much less good than ill, and while the sun and moon endure, luck's a chance, but trouble's sure. I'd face it as a wise man would, and train for ill, and not for good. 'Tis true the stuff I bring for sale is not so brisk a brew as ale. Out of a stem that scored the hand, I wrung it in a weary land. But take it, if the smack is sour, the better for the embittered hour. It should do good to heart and head when your soul is in my soul's stead, and I will friend you if I may in the dark and cloudy day. There was a king reigned in the east. There, when kings will sit to feast, they get their fill before they think with poisoned meat and poisoned drink. He gathered all that springs to birth from the many venomed earth. First a little, thence to more, he sampled all for killing in store. And easy smiling, seasoned sound, sat the king when healths went round. They put arsenic in his meat, and stared aghast to watch him eat. They poured strychnine in his cup, and shook to see him drink it up. They shook, they stared, as white's their shirt. Them it was their poison hurt. I tell the tale as I heard told. Mithridates, he died old. Now a very short poem, but one that keels me over, by old Alfred Edward Houseman. Kind of a rural type poet. With rue my heart is laden. With rue my heart is laden for golden friends I had, for many a rose-lipped maiden and many a light-foot lad. By brooks too broad for leaping, the light-foot boys are laid. The rose-lipped girls are sleeping in fields where roses fade. Yet another Houseman. From the wash the lawn descends, my collar's home with raveled ends. I must fit, now these are frayed, my neck with new ones, London made. Homespun collars, homespun hearts, wear to rags and foreign parts. Mine at least as good as done, and I must get a London one. James Joyce. Of the dark past a child is born, with joy and grief my heart is torn. Calm in his cradle the living lies, may love and mercy unclose his eyes. Young life is breathed on the glass, the world that was not comes to pass. The child is sleeping, an old man gone. O Father forsaken, forgive your Son. At that hour when all things have reposed, O lonely watcher of the skies, do you hear the night wind and the sighs of harps playing and the love to unclose the pale gates of sunrise? When all things repose, do you alone awake to hear the sweet harps play? To love before him on his way, and the night wind answering an antiphon till night is overgone. Play on, invisible harps unto love, whose way in heaven is aglow, at that hour when soft lights come and go. Soft, sweet music in the air above and in the earth below. The old piano plays an air, sedate and slow and gay. She bends upon the yellow keys, her head inclines this way. Shy thoughts and grave wide eyes and hands that wander as they list. The twilight turns to darker blue, lights of amethyst.